green and dripping. The rocks are always very slippy, but if you know the way, you can hang in beside the edge of the cliff. There's trees hanging over a river. And if you climb up all the way, you can find a waterfall. It's really cold, and the water runs very clear. So we sometimes go swimming in the pool below the waterfall and sometimes climb up behind it, up the edge of the cliff, behind the waterfall, where there's branches hanging out over it. It's about 40 or 50 feet high, and the water isn't very deep below, but if you jump in, it's a great feeling. And then the flow of the waterfall takes you down the river. And you asked me earlier what I'd like. I suppose that's what I'd like right now. I'd like to be there, or else I'd like to be on the Aran Islands. There's a legend about the three islands. They call it Tir na Nog. I suppose it's the Irish equivalent of Muirhead Brazil. And they say that years and years ago, Oisin, who was one of the ancient warriors of Ireland, he fell in love with a spirit woman from that land. She came riding across the sea on a white horse, and her name was Niamh Kinor, Niamh of the golden hair. And she took him back to Tir na Nog, and he felt like he'd only been there 3 days, but he'd been there 300 years because it was the land of the youth and no one ever changed. But after that time, he became homesick and he asked her could he go home. So she gave him his horse and